I'm Robert Sarver. This is my Module 1 speech on a narrative speech on becoming a stay-at-home dad. Here is my audience, and let's get started. I grew up on the central coast of California, and I always thought that I would live in various parts of California for the rest of my life. We moved to Nebraska when I was 28 years old, and if at 25 someone had told me that by 30 I would be a stay-at-home dad in a small town in western Nebraska, I would have told them to get their crystal ball checked, because that wouldn't be happening. Yet here I am, and now that I'm here, I can't imagine being anywhere else. About 4 years ago, my wife was offered a new position in the company she had been with since college, and it was a position that she'd always wanted with them, but there was a catch. It wasn't available in California. We had to move to Nebraska. Prior to moving to Nebraska, I had never been to the Midwest. I had no interest in going there, and until we flew out to look at homes, I really didn't know what Nebraska was going to be like. So we spent about 4 days traveling around western Nebraska trying to find where we would call home. And finally, on the last day, we found it. It was in a little town called Gary, Nebraska, just outside of Scottsbluff. After about a few weeks of job searching and researching local daycares, we realized the difference in cost of living and the increase in my wife's pay would allow me to stay at home with our kids full time and become a stay-at-home dad. So after some consideration, we also decided this would be the perfect time for me to go back to school and fulfill my dream of earning my bachelor's degree. So I signed up at the local community college and got started immediately. My wife's job requires quite a bit of travel, typically as much as 2 to 3 nights a week. So I was more than just a stay-at-home dad, I was also a full-time homemaker. So I was learning it all on the fly, giving baths, cooking food my kid would actually eat, and planning errands around nap times were now the challenges that I faced on a daily basis. So dirty diapers and naked toddler running away from a bathtub became the norm for me, and I was beginning to really enjoy the amount of time I was getting to spend with my son. So just as I became comfortable in my new role, our second son was born, and that kind of changed everything. Now I had an infant to care for as well as a toddler, and scheduling became the center of my day. From nap times to feeding times, to nighttime feedings, bath time, keeping up with the house, and school began to feel like full-time jobs in themselves. And having a new baby in the house really shows you just how loud your toddler is when the baby is sleeping and how quiet he seems to be when the baby is awake. My oldest son had become what we called the unhelpful helper, doing more harm than good, but trying his absolute hardest to help with whatever it is I was doing. Now, as if that wasn't enough, we decided to begin remodeling the house that we had purchased, doing the work myself, learning as I went. Midway through our remodel, my wife was offered another promotion, which would require another move, this time to Omaha. So the blood, sweat, and stress of a live-in remodel turned out to be well worth the initial investment. We secured enough equity upon the sale of the home that we were able to put enough money down to buy the beautiful and, more importantly, move-in ready home here in Omaha that we really wanted. Which brings us to our current state. With my oldest in preschool and a house that doesn't require my every ounce of energy, I have settled into my role and now have more time to pour into my education. So my goal is to finish my bachelor's degree in business by the time my 2-year-old gets to kindergarten, and as I'm about to enter my final quarter of transfer classes, it would appear that I'm well on my way. Thank you.